Bloodborne: The Old Hunters is the DLC expansion for Bloodborne and sees you travelling back in time to revisit the nightmares of the first hunt. The game is available exclusively for PlayStation 4. Atmosphere. The Old Hunters pulls over a lot of the same atmosphere cues from the main game, but everything is more dreamlike and more distorted, like a crumbling nightmare misremembered. Strange growths cover the familiar Gothic architecture of the Cathedral Ward, and some areas give way to others with no rhyme or reason. The bigger theme on research leads to some areas having that disused hospital feel, reinforced by the Victorian architecture, the most barbaric time for surgery, patients walking around pleading for help, and bodies are left to rot in chairs with wires sticking out of the bags that were placed over their heads. Mysterious instruments of healing are left strewn about in places that seem designed more for torture than anything else. The fishing hamlet feels like the truest form of a Lovecraftian nightmare, with it being almost a direct reference to Shadow over Innsmouth. There's still a lot of ominous scenes and things that allude to the old ones, with some classic scenery that's just nasty to behold. The atmosphere is comprised of tension, and the depraved backstory makes most of the places you visit worse once you have the insight. That's one Harry Mason.
Someone, anyone, seeing my eyes. I'm afraid I've dropped them in a puddle. Everything is pale now.
Scares. The game works in the same way as the main game. The combat is still brutal and things can sneak up on you. The enemy designs are more disturbing the more you know about them, with some being little more than rabid patients attacking you out of spite, to the horrific transformed creatures of the fishing hamlet that scream at the top of their lungs as they run at you. I found the variety a lot more lacking in the Old Hunters than the base game, with fewer moments of cosmic horror that I noticed whilst playing. Maybe this is a result of the time the game was set in, but there's just generally a lot less of it. That's still one Harry Mason.
A corpse should be left well alone. Oh, I know very well how the secrets beckon so sweetly. Only an honest death will kill you now. Eliminate you from your wild curiosity.
Sound design. The same sickly wind blows through the harrowed land of the Old Hunters. The same deep reverb echoes the harsh metal strikes of your weapons in the underground corridors of the research halls. The uttering of whispers, like 1,000 muttering voices, occasionally sneaks into your ears from the ambient sound that plays during the quiet parts before the fights. The sounds of combat consists of the slick splattering of blood, the crunch of metal and bone, and the dire screams of pained creatures. The boss music is again brilliantly done and fittingly dramatic for the level of threat in the DLC, from Ludwig's mad concerto to Lady Maria's almost sad, melancholic dirge that breaks into a glorious, triumphant fanfare that makes her fight incredibly memorable. The voice acting is ominous and brilliantly executed, with events recalled by people so desperate to conceal secrets that are haunted by what they've seen and done, and it's all conveyed in the way they speak. Directional audio hasn't changed, and it's just as good as the main game, along with some stellar sound design. That's 2 Harry Masons.
Mercy. Oh, please.
Gore. The gore yet again carries over from the visceral kills that spray blood everywhere to the blood vial injections you use to heal, but this time there's a bigger emphasis on the depraved research that took place in the past, with various experiments that are just like the main game, more disturbing and disgusting the more you know about them, with the DLC generally having more things that are gross in concept than some of the things that take place in the main game. The gore is still here, and it's just as effective. That's 3 Harry Masons. Story. The Old Hunters sets the scene for the events of the main game, with it taking place in a memory. A lot of the geometry ends up feeling unrealistic as you transcend from a clock tower to a fishing hamlet, like walking from one moment to the next. The story is, again, hard to decipher, with many things deliberately being vague, but the story takes the similar theme of seeking enlightenment to the same depraved level, revealing the things the Bergenworth scholars did in order to attain the enlightenment they sought.
Shrouded by night, but with steady stride. Coloured by blood, but always clear with mud.
What you can take away from the expansion is probably less interesting than the main game, but still leagues above the sort of story told in many other DLC content packs that exist, making the final score 4 out of 5 Harry Masons. The Old Hunters is a lot more than just more of the same, but either deliberately or as a result of the choices in the story, ends up being a less of a cosmic horror experience than the main game. It's still fantastic and highly recommended. Again, I'd like to remind you the whole thing is down to my opinion in horror games, and if you don't share this opinion, then that's cool, I get it. I'd like to point out that whilst I heard the rumour of the old ones, I did not meet them and advise you don't either. There will be more horror reviews in the pipeline, and thanks for watching. And always go check out Bumps in the middle of the night. Peace.